Okay. Hey everyone, this is Christopher Schmidt with Not Breaking Space, and so we have Matt McGee with us today. And so welcome, Matt.
Hey Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. Cool. Well, thanks for being here on Not Breaking Space.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. So there's lots of things we want to talk to you about, but the first thing that we always talk about is how did you get onto the web?
Wow. So how did I get on the web? It goes back, I was going to start around the early 1990s, but I think it actually goes back to when I was in college at Pepperdine University. We had in our dorm, they installed, while I was there, which was 86 through 90, they installed, one of the old Apple computers in each dorm. They had a little, separate space for it. And as I recall, it had internet access, whatever, and I don't remember what, the internet was even like at that point, but I just knew that I could get on and do some real basic types of research and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what it was intended for. I actually remember playing a golf game on it a lot more than using it for studying. But I was fascinated with it, from like the minute they installed it. And then when I got out of college, one of my first jobs was doing news at a tiny little cable TV station in Bishop, California. And they gave me a little Macintosh SE, one of the all-in-one box kind of things.
Oh, nice.
And I think I had a CompuServe account. And so I could use that to get press releases from the state offices in Sacramento and stuff like that. So I think those were probably my first experiences with being online. Would have been college and first job.
Oh, wow.
Out of school.
Okay. And so, did your job entail you to get online and with CompuServe, or were you just checking email for your business or for the news?
Yeah, I think it's a really small town. It's on the east side of the Sierra Nevada mountains, so it's really in a remote part of California. And so like 4 hours north of Los Angeles, the other side of the mountains from Sacramento and San Francisco. And I think there was just this sense that if we had a computer with internet access, I might be able to, get news related to, it was a little TV operation. So, you wanted news, statewide news that would impact, viewers in the small town. So I think there was just a sense that it was probably the easiest way to connect to what was going on the other side of the mountains. I don't remember using it for email or anything even at that point. I remember, because I didn't know anybody else that was online. I remember just trying to scour for news from whatever sources could find. I mean, I didn't start doing email till, I guess it was February of 1994. I bought a Macintosh Performa.
Oh, nice.
Just one of those big, it was, this ugly, just flat kind of thing. And it was like, $2,500, which, you laugh at now, right? Because, you get a computer that's 1,000 times more powerful for a fraction of the price. But anyway, that's when I first started doing email. Would it be around the mid 90s or so, 94.
All right. And when you decided to get into web as a career, I guess, what was your first web focused job?
Yeah, I'm in Tri-Cities, Washington right now. And my wife and I moved here in 1994, I think it was. So we'd already had a computer for a while. And around 1995, so I was on AOL at first, and then around 1995, I found a local ISP that was, quote, the real internet, not AOL. And so I got an account there and started building websites. But I was still doing TV sports at that time. I was the sports director for the CBS station here in town.
Oh, nice.
And so I was Monday through Friday, 6 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news, go out and cover games and all that sort of stuff. But I was always fascinated with the internet. And so in like 1995, I started this, Mondays are always really slow in the sports world. So on Monday nights, I started doing this segment on the late sportscast, the Monday at 11 o'clock sportscast called Nothing But Net, which is where I just did like this 2-minute thing where I talked about some sports related website. And, I thought it was really cool at the time, but in looking back at it now, I'm thinking, there were probably like 5 people in our viewership that, had the internet at this point, and they're probably just like clicking to another channel.
Right.
Like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. So that's when that was my first fascination, I think, was 94, 95. And then around 90, it was 1997, I decided to get out of television, and I took a job with the local ISP here in town. They were looking to add a web designer, web developer, and all that sort of stuff. So that was my first web job, was building websites for small businesses, here in the Tri-Cities. So that was September 1997.
Oh wow, okay. And so, do you know what type of sites you built? Like, just what tools? Like 97 would be, I don't know what tools you would be using. Was it just Macromedia Dreamweaver, or?
I think was that pre-Dreamweaver?
Yeah, that's pre-Dreamweaver. Like you said, like BB Edit maybe, or.
I'm trying to think. We did not use Front Page. I know that because my boss was very anti Front Page. But I eventually used Dreamweaver, but I don't think it was in 97. I think that was before. I don't remember what. Boy, that's a good question. You know what? There was an Apple program that I think was called Apple Homepage. Does that sound all familiar?
That there's Adobe home site product, maybe. I don't know, homepage. I don't know.
Man, what a blast from the past. I wish I could remember. It was. Yeah. They were crummy, terrible websites.
Yeah. Oh man, cool. So, but. I'll just go fast forward a little bit, but so now you do search engine optimization. Like you were a consultant for search engine marketing. So how did you go from building websites to doing search engine optimization, marketing, and
there was we like I said, we had a number of small business clients, and like I said, they were pretty crummy websites, but they were happy with them, right?
Yeah.
And so, we build websites for, these small businesses. It might be, I think, there was a winery in town that we had, a restaurant. And then there was, probably the one that I remember the most from back then was this, the older folks, super people, probably both in their 60s or so, retired. And they, literally had, small business running out of their garage. The gentleman was he like handcrafted wooden pens and stuff.
Yeah.
And then his wife, she made and painted these real intricate like duck decoys and stuff like that. So literally working out of their garage, and they wanted to sell stuff online. And so we built their website, and we built, this is 1999 or so. And we didn't have the shopping cart e-commerce software. So the programmers on staff, they had to like build this stuff from scratch. There was no real off-the-shelf option that I recall, at least. So we built them this website. People could order online if you wanted these really nice handcrafted pens or decoys or whatever. And it was working fine, but they came to us and said, hey, the website's great, and the people that know about it, they like it, but we're not selling enough products. And, so how do we get more people to find our website? And so that was when I said, all right, well, I got to learn, how search engines work. So this was 1999. Yahoo still had a directory at that point.
Right.
Google was just like months old. So it was not even really on the radar at that point. But it was like Excite.com and Lycos.com and Alta Vista.
Oh, yes.
Those would have been the the most important search engines back then. So it was how I switched from doing. I didn't really switch. It was just sort of an add-on because we were building these websites and they were fine, but nobody was finding them. So it was like, all right, well, now we got to add this extra service to what we offer our clients.
Okay, cool. And so in search engines, I just, you just went through it, the list, but I just want to say, like, search engines are just Google now? Is it Google Bing? There's just I'm not sure what Excite is anymore, but I don't just.
Yeah, I mean it's certainly it's here in the U.S. it's Google and Bing. If you go to other countries like in Europe, Google has like 90 to 95% market share.
Wow.
Bing has very little usage outside the U.S. Here in the U.S., it depends on which source you look at. Some sources generally say that Google's about 70% market share, Bing is about 20, and then Yahoo 8 or 10, and that sort of stuff. So it's mostly when people think search engines, obviously Google comes to mind first, then there's Bing, but also if you're walking around with a friend and you're looking for a place to have a restaurant and you fire up your Yelp app, I mean, that's a search engine too, right? You're doing the search for a local restaurant. Foursquare and there's different there's a lot of more vertical, more niche oriented search engines.
Right. Okay, cool. And then so you got interested in search engine, I guess, marketing and advertising. I guess I don't know if it's a better word, marketing, but in terms of search engine placement, would that be part of the things that you looked into and you got deeper and deeper into that, or?
Yeah, it was. I happened to there's a website that existed back in the day, still exists, called Search Engine Watch, which was created by a guy named Danny Sullivan, who happens to be my boss right now. And it was, he started it, I want to say around 95 or 96. And it was just, his story was similar to mine. It was, for him, because he was doing web development and websites and needed to figure out how search engines worked and how the Yahoo directory worked and all that sort of stuff. So he created this site where, he just shared all this great information about, what he learned. And so it became sort of this, international resource for anybody that wanted to, to learn about how this stuff works. And if you ask just about anybody that's been around in the search marketing industry now, they will tell you that they probably started by finding Danny's website.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's what you did, and it was a fantastic resource, and there's a lot of self education. It's like, I imagine you with doing design and web work, back in the day, there wasn't any formal training in this sort of stuff, right?
Right.
So you just kind of, you kind of learned as you went and figured it out on your own. That's the way it was, for the search marketing industry for sure.
Okay. And so, I guess I come ill prepared, I guess, is to this conversation is that, I can talk about building websites when we talk about, what goes into it, when you talk about the back end and some of that. I can talk about it to some degree. And then, but when it comes to search engineering, marketing and placement, I just, from what I gather, we have content strategists now who, we put a heavy reliance on strategy of content. We have responsive design, which kind of a little dictates how much content we put up about that. But, in general, it's been like, from what I can gather, from my years of being web designer and following the career, like the whole industry, is that for search engine placement, it's really about creating great content and then having people come to you, and mysteriously people show up and have that. So I just like, what type of, there's suites of tools out there. Is there tools to help you understand and improve SEO, or is there just metrics out there that we need to know? Because I'll give you my little bit of background with SEO. Like in the 90s, around 2000, I worked at an agency, and we bought the software which would go out to Google and go out and get the keyword search results back, and as it relates to our clients. And so that basically just ran a report every day and see what happened. I thought it was insanely boring, because the needle wouldn't move very much, and right. The content you get from a corporate client is stale. It doesn't move. You're not adding new content daily like a New York Times or or like, Industry Watch magazine or whatever they have you. So it's kind of like, I find it insanely, it didn't really help matters that much. So how can, what things are out there that people should use or follow? What metrics do they follow when doing?
Well, I mean, I think that's sort of a broad question. There are a number of tools,
right.
And every year the tools that you can use. I mean, so you're talking 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
The tools just get exponentially more sophisticated and complicated and powerful. So there are a number of tools that SEOs and search, paid search people are using now, social media marketers. There's just a variety of stuff that you can and do use. I agree with you. It can be very boring. It's because there's a lot of I don't even know how to describe it, but it's what you're talking about. There's a lot of like sort of kicking around in the water and not making progress at first.
Right.
And it takes a while. I mean, that's one of the things that, when I would work with designers or with small business owners or big businesses, people want instant gratification, right? And in the SEO world, it doesn't work that way. You don't get instant gratification. If you want instant visibility, then you have to go spend a lot of money and purchase, the ads that show on the right side of Google's webpage, or sometimes at the top or the bottom. So that's what you need to do if you want instant stuff. But SEO takes time. I've always said, going back, way long ago, that think about what Google. So you do a search, Chris. You go online and you do a search. Let's say you are going to go to Hawaii and you are looking for. What are you looking for? You're looking for, say, tips on where to stay. Let's say you're looking for tips on where to stay in Hawaii, right? Which island should you go to? So you do a search like that, and Google's going to give you 10 results. Well, Google wants you to keep using Google. So it's going to show the 10 pages that it thinks are the most accurate and trustworthy. So back in the day, you could kind of fool Google into what accuracy and trust is. There was a lot of spam going on. You'd stuff your web page with keywords in light text and all this sort of stuff. You'd buy a bunch of fake links or get a bunch of fake links pointing to your web page to boost the ranking and all that sort of stuff. And for years, I would say in certain industries, the spammers were pretty much winning.
Right.
I don't think that's the case as much anymore, because now it really is, I think really now it's all about trust and accuracy. And, so if you go and you do a search for Viagra or casinos or prescription drugs, there's still going to be a lot of spam. I mean, the amount, and Google will admit to this, that in some industries, there's just so much crap that they are still struggling to deal with it.
Right.
But for the most part, if you do that Hawaii search, chances are pretty good you're going to get 10 pretty good results there that you can rely on. And so it's all about, I always told clients, it's all about building trust. And you don't build trust overnight. You build trust, as you said, by creating great content, and then you've got to promote that content and get people to link to it. Not just people, but you've got to get other trusted sources to link to your content,
Right.
to talk about your content and that sort of stuff. So, I mean, big picture, I think that's probably how I would describe, what SEO is all about. But it does, you're right. It can be really boring, and it takes a while to work.
Yeah, that's one thing is just like, Google, like the one thing that I'm not sure if this is still true. It's my question, I guess, is like back when Google, and we're trying to figure out Google and trying to like work our way, deconstruct Google, was that, we need, it looks at how trusted our site is. So we need to get people linking, in the same industry, same, whatever, linking back to us. And so there was like this kind of like almost, I don't know, backroom parlor, but like where people just like, hey, link to me, I'll link to you, and all this other stuff. And so like, I would get like emails from people like, hey, link to my stuff over here, and link to you, and then raise everyone's boats. And so, which I think is like, it worked great. I think, it's, if this is actually worked towards your favor, that'd be great. But then also, I remember like this instance where someone was like, that had a great website that was very popular, but then they would get like, people would write, I think they still do it. They write to websites like, hey, just put our links on your site and we'll move the CSS. We'll use the CSS to move the links off screen. And so that way we get, some traffic. And that's like sort of like what black hat SEO. I'm not sure
what it's called. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It used to work, years ago. It doesn't work so well anymore.
Right. Yeah. So, and then, so I came across, this is just rehashing like every Google trick I can think of is coming to the top here. And so I get to talk to someone who I was like, oh, who actually knows this stuff. I'm like, oh, great. So one is this like Google came out and said, this is like how many years ago? It was like at least 4 or 5 years ago. And to address this issue, I think of hiding things off page, but still be in the HTML like links. They said like pretty much any negative value in your CSS is going to be dinged or like have a negative value because what they assume what you're doing is trying to hide stuff offline. So, and why would you want a negative value in your web page, which is crazy, right? Unless you happen to be a web designer at the time pushing the boundary of what you can do. And there's a lot of cool things you can do with negative values and CSS properties. So it's I don't know if that's still the case or not, but
no, I remember I had shifted out of doing, like I stopped doing, I was both web designer and SEO until about 2006 or though, and then I started shifting specifically to SEO. Yeah. But I remember around that there was a lot of frustration and questions about what could you do with like font I mean, it was like there's some really specific things, right? With issues with JavaScript and CSS, and if I want to replace the image, the logo image with with text, can I do that? And help my SEO. There was a lot of I remember what you're talking about. There was a whole lot of discussion about how's the CSS, how does this impact the SEO? I had started to shift away from building websites at that point.
Yeah. It's like there was like before we had like Typekit, and now the trick was to actually like blow away your font, but bring in an image or something like that, and you do that by negative values with So yeah, it was a great time.
Good times.
Yeah, and so we had a search engine person. We do conferences through Environments for Humans, and so one of the ones we did was In Control in Orlando. We actually brought someone on stage, and she just had a book out, and she just almost like started a near riot, as much as web designers can riot without alcohol. But it was she's like, so Google came out and said like, hey, it's okay to do XYZ. It won't hurt your page, which is kind of goes back to that trick for negative text and to get them off the negative text and margins. And so she's like, yeah, don't believe Google.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's like, don't believe everything Google says. I was like, it's like what? It's like, and so people were like, what? But it says it right here on the blog post. It's like, this, that's what they say, and that's not like so. I don't know. So I'm gonna put you on the spot. It's like, hey, has Google ever been like? I guess I don't know. It's just been. It would not be in the best interest to like play all their cards on the table and say this is what we're doing, why we're doing it, and just so people can reverse engineer it. But I feel like she was very adamant about how even though Google says one thing, doesn't mean that they're actually on the back. Doesn't mean they're actually totally doing it or whatnot. So I forgot the issue. So it's pretty bad light there. But in covering search engine marketing, and knowing that Google has such a big presence, have they been like a mea culpa on their part for like doing things?
I think you hit on the key point there, is that they can't. They can't reveal exactly how they do things, and because the more they reveal about how web pages are ranked, then the more that the questionable, the spam community, the black hat community, the more they open that door, then the black hat community, starts to, push and push and push and go through it. And so, I think over the years, historically, you could look at, what has Google said and announced and all that sort of stuff. And there's always a community of online marketers that takes what they say and looks for ways to, sort of take advantage of it.
Right.
How can we use this, to make our own sites rank higher and make more money and all this sort of stuff. And, hey, that's capitalism, and so be it. Whatever. If I don't want to get an argument over, the right and wrong issue of it. But, I agree with Google in the sense that, they can't just reveal it all, right? They can't just lay everything. This is how we rank web pages. I think they've been, fairly clear and more transparent over time about the changes that they make. And I don't know the specific case that you were talking about there. I without knowing what the issue was, I don't know if what that person was saying was true or not. But yeah, there have been times over the years where they will say one thing and you kind of do have to read between the lines a little bit and say, well, they're saying this, but that may not necessarily apply in all situations and all cases. Okay. So I do think, I do think there is a little bit of reading between the lines. But like I said, they've been more transparent. They just had this big, the mobile SEO, the mobile friendly, is what we call it, the mobile friendly update that they announced back in February. And they actually, the first time ever that they said, all right, this was it was early February, I think. They said, starting on April 21st, right, we are going to, in our mobile search results, just on smartphones, we're going to reward pages that are mobile friendly, and we're going to demote pages that aren't mobile friendly. First time they'd ever pre-announced anything like that. So I think that's a step in the right direction. It gave businesses, webmasters, etc., a good 2 months or so to figure out what do I need to do. And I think a lot of businesses, and we just had a conference in Seattle, the company I work for, we put on marketing conferences, and one of the Google people was speaking about it, and he said that in that 2 month period, there were a lot of webmasters that made their sites, made their pages mobile friendly, and they took advantage of that. So I think I'd like to see more of that. I think and anytime they can sort of give a heads up, I think that would be good. But they're obviously not always going to do it because you can't telegraph everything. So
right. And so, to me, that was kind of a weird scenario where, for web designers, just because we've been doing this responsive web design push for now years. Our first responsive web design summit was it 2012? And so it was really weird to see Google just comes out and say yeah, we're really just gonna push everything to mobile. So if you don't have a mobile friendly website, if you're not using many queries, then you're gonna get demoted. And so then all of a sudden it was cockroaches in the middle of the light, light turned on, oh my gosh, everyone really, really wanted responsive design. And so I was a little bit on the fence about that. I'm a big proponent of responsive web design, and all that. But I just feel wow, there's so much content that's out there that's not ever going to be mobilized into a mobile friendly format. Just because it's been trapped in the Ember, if you will, or Ember, and it just, it's not worth anyone's time or money to update the encasing, of this content, but it'd still be out there, and so do we just let that go and not be found? Because if it's third page on Google search results, it's not going to be found, So I felt like that was kind of but that's also the enjoyment and Google's placement really for being awesome in the search engine marketing world. I guess it's just that they can actually dictate this is what's going to be from now on. And so, but yeah, I don't know. That's just my soapbox. I don't know.
It's well, I'll tell just to add to this. So as you with my U2 website, at U2, it's 20 years old this year. It's not mobile friendly at all. It's not responsive design now. We don't have an M.dot or anything like that. It's just, it's there's no money to hire anybody to, et cetera. It's had the same design since I think the last time we did a redesign was 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. So I wrote an article actually on Search Engine Land about this, published like, you know, a couple days before April 21st, before that mobile update was supposed to happen. And I just said, you know, look, here's a website that's been around for 20 years. Google loves it, you know, because it's, you know, for 20 years, if you do a search on Google just for the band's name, it's right there in the top 3, nonstop. If you do a search for U2 News, it's #1. You do a search for U2 Lyrics, it's been top 3.
Right.
So it's got all kinds of trust built up, all kinds of authority, you know, links from major news organizations, the whole 9 yards. And I said, you know, but my site's not mobile friendly. So am I about to get, you know, annihilated off the face of the earth? You know, so where's the balance? Is it more important to have, you know, a mobile friendly page? Is Google going to reward, you know, a mobile friendly page that has less trust and authority? Or is it going to still, you know, recognize, all right, this is really trustworthy content. It's not mobile friendly, but we still need to show it on the mobile search results. So I was fully expecting to get completely annihilated because, like I said, the site hasn't been changed design-wise in 6-7 years, and it's not mobile friendly. I mean, I recognize it's a bad experience on the smartphone. But I mean, here it is, you know, early June, mid-June, it's been 2 months. And if you're on your smartphone, if you do a search for U2, it's still right there. Mm-hmm. Do a search for U2 Lyrics, it's still right there. Do a search for U2 News, it's still right there. Now, our mobile traffic has gone down, you know, slightly. It's starting to trend down a little bit. But it's not, it hasn't impacted, you know, some of those real key, you know, basic terms. So I suspect that, you know, maybe if somebody's doing a search for, you know, a specific song lyric or something like that, you know, maybe those pages don't rank well anymore, but sort of, you know, the homepage still does, the main lyrics page and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's, so for me, you know, that was my soapbox issue. You know, how do you balance mobile friendly versus trusted content? And so I'm just, you know, personally relieved to see that they're saying, all right, this is trusted content. We still need to show it. Right. Even though it's not mobile friendly. So we're now kind of in the process of, we've done some fundraisers, and so we have a little bit of money, and so now we're going to try and find somebody that knows how to do responsive design and try and make the website, because it's, I mean, like I said, it hasn't been updated in forever, so we need to do this anyway. So we'll figure out a way to make it responsive, and that way it looks nice and pretty on a phone because Google says so. We have to do it, Chris.
I know, it's exactly right. So like, hey, wake up February. By the way, your boss, Google, just says. But yeah, so like actually, my next book is going to be about retrofitting websites, and so just for people who are caught in this limbo and you know, don't have the money, like if you're like just if you're like a nonprofit or if you're just a large corporation who it costs you millions of dollars to build your website, and you don't really have another $1 million laying around to like hire someone like to redo everything. So. Yeah, so that's my next book. This is to free people from that, but and to be more mobile friendly like that. So keep
me posted on your progress on that. I'd be curious to see if I can help spread the word about it, because there's a ton of small, as you said, nonprofits, small businesses that I mean, they don't have the time or the resources to do this kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and so and so we did RFAC conference, which is the Responsible Design Conference, and so I hate to say RWD. Design, but it's like saying design twice. But it was for designers, but developers showed up twice, and it was for designers. Well, I'm trying to say it's for conference for designers, but developers showed up. It's like a 50-50 mix. It's like, what? Like, why are you guys here? And we're happy you're here, but you know what's going on. And what happens, like the second year we did Artifact, was like Capital One came to both our conferences that year and did a session, and they were great guys. And there was people who just like three programmers and engineers, just like, we're gonna make Capital One mobile friendly, and they just like sat and they just made MDOT mobile friendly, and then they showed it to their to the people like, hey, we made it. And so it's like these 3 people just came in and did it. Now like, and during this conference, they came out and just said, hey, we're buying Adaptive Path, which is like this major UX agency, which is like, I guess mobile is really important, I guess. And so yeah, but But so Google does this great push. Just backtrack a little bit. Just push for Google mobile friendly initiative, and I'm just gonna just say some weird things, and then about search engine because that's what little I know. I want to see if we make sense of it. But
okay, go
every once in a while, I hear like, "Oh no, Panda release, what's gonna happen? Is their page worried about it?" And I'm like, "What does that mean? What's happening?" And so what my gathering is that Google is like fine tuning and trying to reduce a lot of spam, like spam links. There's lots of, back in, was it early 2000s? People would just do a whole bunch of landing pages, like 6, 7, 8, 10 million landing pages, all like attuned to each one has a keyword or key phrase, and there's a niche industry that when I was doing web design and back in the day, it was just like I would meet people and they would do that, and I was like, wow, that is really boring. And then, but also like and they would do some people would do it manually, and I was like, if you're doing manually, you just know that if someone has automated the system to churn this out and is going to beat you tomorrow morning to do it. So anyway, so that's like, what is Panda? Like, what type of like, and like, what does it mean to your industry, to search engine optimization, like launchers and stuff like that?
So Panda was the name of a huge algorithm update that I think early 2011, I believe. Where they targeted, and there was, I think Google would admit this. Their search results, the quality of their search results, were pretty poor in the year or two before this, because they weren't able to keep up with all the stuff you were just talking about, all the tricks and the spam and the automation of content and all this sort of stuff. And so you had content farms, content factories, what would it be, like ehow.com or whatever. Right. They used to brag, excuse me, they used to brag that they, that they created like, 70,000 new web pages a day based on what people search into Google. So if you did a search for, how to tie my Converse sneaker, the next day they'd have a page answering that question. And it was just this, really low quality. I mean, oh my gosh, I remember they used to have articles on their site about how to drink a cup of water. Right? Like, I mean, pretty basic stuff. And just, first, and so it would go into, I wish I used to have a presentation on this even, showing some of the examples of these just utterly terrible web pages. So it'd be how to drink a cup of water. Step 1, find a cup. Step 2, go to the sink. Step 3, turn the faucet on. Step 4, hold the cup under the fire. Right? Just utter garbage. Right. And this stuff, because eHow, and these, I don't want to just pile on them, but because these sites produced so much content, and there was, all sorts of interlinking going on, and, they basically had figured out a way to, to trick Google into ranking their pages, higher than they deserve to be. And so Google came out with this Panda update in 2011 that just said, you know what, we're going to target, thin content web pages and, thin content websites and all that sort of stuff. And, there was this, I remember doing an article on Search Engine Land, like 6 months or so, 8 months after it came out, where, some researchers, university researchers, I think, compared, search results before and after, and said, hey, and oh, by the way, and Bing followed suit pretty quickly after that and said, we're also targeting this low quality crap on the web, and we're not going to, give it as much visibility. And so there were studies that, 6 to 8 months later that said, it's actually working. The quality of the search results is better. A lot of this low quality stuff is no longer being found. And so, it's been what, 4 years or so, and I think in general most people, in the SEO industry look at that as a step in the right direction. But yeah, that's what I mean. It targeted a lot of that low, the automation of content that you were talking about.
Right. So how often does a Panda come around Like, is there like I assume there's other changes of other code names that come around for Google.
Yeah, I mean, they're constantly. I mean, they say that they make what 500 changes per year. The vast majority of which no one knows about, don't get any press, don't get any attention, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, just based on that number, it's more than one per day that they're changing the search results. How often does Panda come? Panda is something that they run, that they update, they do a data refresh. If I had to guess, probably 5 or so times a year, 5 or 6 times. I think they've done 20 some odd data refreshes on it, where they just sort of run the system again to filter out anything that's gotten through. They just, at our conference last week, they just said that they're going to run another Panda refresh within the next few weeks, so there should be one pretty soon. But they do. You're right. They have other algorithms. There was the Penguin algorithm that targeted low quality links, the kind of stuff that you were talking about earlier, where I'm trading links with you, link to me, I'll link to you, and then this third person will link to him, and he'll link to us. And
right.
So the Penguin algorithm targeted a lot of that sketchy linking that people were doing. There was a Pigeon update that targeted spam in local search results. So yeah, there's all kinds of updates. Probably I would say, I don't know, 4, maybe 5 per year are important and big enough that they get national attention and coverage and that sort of thing.
Okay. And so is it just so what type of news, I mean, I hate to sound like so generic, like, so what type of news, like, other than these updates, like, what type of things do you usually cover? Like, do you cover like what happens in like Yelp, like in terms of, or Foursquare and stuff? Like, what type of things do you, what other hot issues out there that like, as a web designer, that that I might not know about, or I should be more interested in if I were to go into more search engine optimization and marketing?
Yeah, I mean, we cover on search engine land and marketing land. We cover, obviously Google is a huge focus because it has such a huge market share, and when you start a business, you want to know how are people going to find me in Google. But Bing has good usability. There's millions of searches a day on Bing. There's tons of usage of Yelp. There's all sorts of other stuff going on. So yeah, so we cover a lot of that. Local search is big. People looking for small businesses in their area. You travel to Hawaii, you're looking for a restaurant, et cetera, et cetera. There's I would say of note to the design community, I would say especially in the last couple years, even, there's been some Google updates that where they talk about how usability is a ranking factor these days. I mean, one of the updates that we covered was pages that have too many advertisements above the fold. Right. Where the content is pushed down and there's just a bunch of ads above the fold. Those pages got demoted because that's not a good it's not a good user experience.
Right.
And so I think I think that's probably just been one of the biggest trends in the last 3 or 4 years, in that all like SEO used to sort of be its own thing, but all this other stuff now comes into play. Usability is a part of it, and the speed that your page loads. That there's an algorithm that if your page takes too long to load, there's a chance it's not going to get the visibility that it used to get in Google. So I think for the design community, I think it's a lot of that stuff that designers are doing to improve the user experience. Google wants to show pages that have a good user experience. So I think that's a big part of SEO.
Yeah, because there's been just the Google developer outreach, and also just and I think our web design community has been just within the past year just been just embracing performance and making sure things are faster. Like we used to do a web performance summit online conference for like 2 years, and like no one showed up. I mean, it was great. I mean, it was nice. People did show up. It was like slow down people, but once but only when it came turns into responsible design did people show up and say like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about performance. And so now people show up for performance. So
I was at Google I/O late May or whatever it was, 2 weeks or so ago, and which is their developer conference, and I mean the whole event was mobile focused. I mean there was like almost no mention of what's going on the desktop. It was just mobile. Right. And they announced 2 months or so ago, I think they announced that in the US and I think 9 or 10 other countries, that there's now more searches happening on mobile devices than on desktop. So
right.
It's that's a huge focus for search marketing these days is how are things working on the phone.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Cool. And then what about YouTube? Is there any like search engine optimization or marketing for YouTube? I mean, it's because the phrase I keep on hearing is YouTube is the #2 search engine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's I don't remember where that data actually may come from Google, but yeah, for some time now it's there's more searches on YouTube than anywhere except for Google itself. And so is there YouTube SEO? There is. It's not something that in my SEO career I ever spent a ton of time doing. But there are resources, if you do, I mean, we have a section on our sites devoted to, video news and video SEO and visibility, just general video marketing. And if you were to do a search for, video SEO or something like that, I mean, there's websites dedicated specifically to covering that. And at our conferences, we always have YouTube related sessions. And I tend to deal with small business the most. My wife's a small business owner, family members are small business owners, friends have small businesses. So there's been a real push, just in the last 2-3 years for small businesses to recognize, you should be putting good quality videos on YouTube. There's a lot of people searching for, how to do this or how to do that, or,
right.
What do I need to know about this and that. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of informational based searching going on YouTube.
Yeah. I just found like like Not Breaking Spaces used to be an audio podcast, and now we're doing it on YouTube, just because it's just like we grew up with the internet, and I'm familiar. I'm okay with surfing the web or whatever, but my nieces and nephews have grown up with YouTube. If they need to find a solution, it's on YouTube. It's not through
Google. I wish I could give you the exact number, but Google just released some of their own research, a week or two ago, saying that YouTube is the #1 search engine for millennials. It's as you said, it's where they go.
Yeah, it's crazy. So like just to get out of my element, I'm going to VidCon, which is the YouTube conference, and it's just like I have absolutely no expectations because I have no idea what's going to be there. It's just like I have so I'm going there's a conference. Yeah, it's like I'm going there's a conference organizer to see how they put it together, but I'm also like I have no idea because like I would I do want to do more videos and understand YouTube, but just like as a designer who knows CSS and HTML and stuff, but wants to help produce great quality content for for people who come to our E4H environmental human stuff, and just like I want to talk to people about like, hey, what does it take to make a great video? And so,
right.
But so I think, is there anything else that we need to know, web builders, for search engine, just in general, like practice? Because I hate to say this, but I'm not sure I said it enough, but because when I talk to more search engine people, I may have said it, might be repeating myself, but just like, because when I talk to some search engine experts, it's almost like I'm talking to conspiracy theorists, and so it's been really like great just to actually talk to you and like, hey, what about this? Because I have no idea about this. So like, because sometimes people just like are just I get the impression that some search engine people just are very fearful of Google, and they're afraid of what the next changes are, like next Panda, whatever happens. And so I just I just feel like what could be what should we be aware of? And it sounds like from what you're just saying is like it's usability, performance, and you keep on tracking whether that is like just maybe Google just coming up and saying like, hey, bring in the developers and usability experts and content strategists and say like they'll build you a great website and therefore you'll get good ratings because we'll deem those as worthy or something like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was somebody. I wish there was somebody in the SEO industry that, and I wish I could remember who it was. But they said years ago that the analogy they made, it was, when you think about what Google wants to show in its search results, and the analogy was wherever users are going, that's what Google wants to show in its search results. And that's what Google talked about, from day one. They always talked about, we want to provide the best search results for our users. I don't think they were doing a very good job of that for the first 10 years or so. But with the changes they've made in the last few years, I do think that a lot of the mysterious aspects, the tinfoil aspects of SEO, I think to a large degree, a lot of that stuff is less important now, and so focusing. I mean, they've always, like I said, they've always said focus on the user, and we'll take care of the rest. And to a large degree, a lot of people are like, yeah, right, whatever. But I think they're getting much better at that now. Right. And so, as I said, I think if you build a great website that just kills it on usability, kills it on content. Mm-hmm. And then you also got to market it still, though. I mean, so it's got to have, the SEO has to be taken care of, but you also got to market it because, there's still the aspect of links and links being a signal of popularity. So you have to get out there and make sure that you are, like when I was working with a dermatologist, was, one of my main clients a few years ago. She had a blog where she wrote 1 or 2 articles per week with skincare advice. And great writer, fantastic content on her blog, but we also had to go out and market that too. So we had to, connect her with local newspapers or, health-related magazines and get her some coverage in these sources so that she started getting, links from trusted sources as well. So, it's not just usability, it's not just great content, it's also still that marketing onto it. And so I think, the way the SEO industry itself has sort of evolved is that it's not so much just sort of that mysterious stuff anymore. It's a more, more well-rounded overall marketing kind of thing, where SEO is sort of part of it, but there's also, usability and social marketing and PR and all that sort of stuff. So I think it all kind of plays together now.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right, cool. Well, that's pretty much I think all I have for search engine marketing stuff. So
okay.
But yeah, so I want to transition because like I've known you for a while. I've known I've known of you in the being on the internet, just mostly for like you too, like because people from watching this on YouTube, you can see like I'm very jealous of your YouTube office that you have right there. You have a nice Joshua Tree photo there. So
pop art over here.
Pop art over there, and so one of the things I want to like switch gears a little bit. But talk about community as well as your love of U2 is just that you talked a little bit about at U2 too earlier about how you haven't changed it, updated for a while, but you're having the 20th anniversary of it, and in web years that's like ancient, like that's 80 that's 80 years old really in web years, and so like just what's the history of this website, this community of at U2 and how to get started?
It started in 1995, since it's 20 years old. Yeah. And so I put this web page online that was just about my favorite bands at the time. So it was mainly about U2, but I think I also had some REM stuff on this web page. I had some Toad. You remember Toad the Wet Sprocket?
Yeah, I love Toad the Wet Sprocket, man.
Yeah, exactly right. Who everybody loved, right? So I had some Toad the Wet Sprocket and REM and U2 and a couple other stuff. And this is 1995 when, if you found a new photo of your favorite band online somewhere, you're like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing in the world. Here's a new picture online I've never seen before, and you just steal the picture and put it on your website, and so it's just a totally different world. But yeah, so I just started this website about my favorite bands, and as you know, there were there was Wire was the
Oh yeah,
mailing list for U2 fans. There were
yeah,
some AOL groups for U2 fans, and so you just get on, you kind of promote your website there and say, oh yeah, hey, I just put the lyrics up to Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me on
right.
my website. Click here if you want to check it out. And so it eventually started growing some traffic that way, and it pretty quickly became just about, I mean, it was probably only a matter of months that I had anything about other bands on. And so it just became a U2 website pretty quickly, because I was hanging out in those communities.
Right.
And people would feed me content to put on the website, which in turn would then attract more people to visit the website. And it's just kind of sort of built that way.
Right. Okay. Cool. And so, yeah, because like I think back in that time, like if you just found the web, it's one of the things I did when I taught with design. It was just like make people make students build a website about something they loved, and whether it be a band or like whatever, what have you, just so you would get more into building web pages. And so I was the same way. It was like I would build like a list of links of things that were cool on the web, just and that's how I got into like, oh, I need to build a table to list all my favorite U2 albums or whatever. So I have to figure out how to make an HTML table, and I got to make a guest book. I got to figure out what a form element is. So yeah, so so back in the day, so you just put all stuff like that. But to do and have a site that's lasted 20 years is this. What is the makeup of at U2 like right now? Like is it just like are the volunteers or just specific people who do specific roles? Like what is
Yeah, it's all volunteers. I would love. I mean, it's such a great group. And I've said this a million times. I would love to be able to pay them.
Yeah.
But we've actually surveyed our readers over the years a few times. And the thing that our readers always say is, don't put ads on the website. We don't want any ads on the website. That's and so I'm like, sorry guys, we're not going to be able to make any money, so can't pay you.
Right.
And so I don't know, it's amazing to me that like some of the people that work on at U2 have been doing it for almost the whole time. Like Sherry Lawrence came on, I want to say around 99 or 2000 maybe.
Yeah.
And so that's 15, 16 years of voluntarily giving your time, and she's got a husband, she's got kids, and and so I'm just like, it just blows my mind that anybody wants to be involved in this. And yet, yeah, I mean, so we have like right now, I think there's about 30 or so, maybe 35 people on the quote staff. I'm going to use these terms that sound ridiculous because it's just a fan site and it's not, like I said, it's all volunteer, but we call it the staff. So there's like 30, 35 people, and there's a group of them that are on the news staff. There's a group of them that work on the tours site where we have all the concert listings and the set lists. There's one guy named Ian Ryan who's been on board for I think 10 years or so, and he's our lyrics guy. So the whole lyrics section of the site is all his work. And so like a new album comes out and he gets on the headphones and just like dives in and figures out exactly what is being sung, because it's never the same as what's in the printed booklet. Right. So people do have they do have specific roles, but if somebody that like Ian, for example, the lyrics guy, if he wants to do something, write something news related, then he writes something news related. So it's all, I mean, it's pretty loose that way.
Okay, it's a loose federation.
Sure, yeah, that's a good way.
Okay, so, cool. But yeah, so it's yeah, I just it's as a U2 fan, it's just a great resource, and so it's been around forever. So it's been like I just don't know how that is possible. So I just want to know.
I don't either.
I don't know either. So yeah, so this is a short segment of how it's. But yeah, it's
I'll tell you why it's been around forever is because depends what day, on a different day I'll give you a different, like some days if you ask me, how come at U2 still on, I'll say because I'm stupid and I haven't been smart enough to shut it down. Other days I'll say because it is the most rewarding thing in the world to get feedback from our readers. Mm-hmm. Of how important the site is to them. And that sounds, I hate that it sounds like bragging, because it's not, But we went to it was June 2003, and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland they had their U2, the big U2 exhibit then.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they wanted to put on a big party, and I don't know how they found us, but they found us. And they said, hey, would you help spread the word? We're going to put on a big party, and maybe you guys could come and kind of host and all this sort of stuff. So we sort of partnered with them in June 2003. So the website was 8 years old or 7.5 years old by then. And so we went, and, you know, the exhibit was fantastic, and they had U2 fans from all over, you know, Canada and Mexico, and I think from Europe came in, and maybe even Australia for all I know. And just hundreds of people on this, you know, this big party weekend. And we were sort of the hosts of the thing. And so you would come into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you'd go down to the entry level, and we'd have our booth there with 2 tables and the laptop, or not laptops, but the monitors set up with the website on. And, you know, we were giving out prizes and just welcoming people and, you know, answering questions, all this sort of stuff. And I mean, that was like, I kid you not, that was life-changing, because that was the first time I'd ever like had face-to-face interaction with our readers. And like the number of people that came up to us and were just like, oh my God, the site is like, it's so important to me because we can connect with other fans and all this sort of stuff. And it's just, like I said, I hate that it sounds like bragging, because it's not, but that weekend was the first weekend that I understood what it means, you know, that we had a community built at that point, right? It was the first time that I really figured out, wow, there's something going on here that, you know, it means something to people. And so that's why, you know, that's the main reason why the site is still online, because there's a ton of people that, for whatever reason, enjoy what we're doing. So we just try to keep doing it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't found this in other bands and other issues, but like, what was it? The Elevation Tour was one I actually saw probably my most concerts of U2. Is this that it was the dedication to the queue line, to the queue, and organize and keeping it organized. Is outstanding, because we have I live in Austin now, and there's like so many music festivals. We're actually thinking about making a website called "Is there a music festival this weekend?" just so you can see like, oh, what's going on this weekend? Like, I don't know, but you know, with music festivals, like with South by Southwest, like they use every venue that's like in Austin, downtown, and around. If there's a park, there's a band probably playing. But you know, even with and even like South by has some rules about queuing up, but for the big bands, you know, for REM or whatnot, like, you know, I go to throw Metallica in there, but it's just that, you know, no one cares enough to make sure like, hey, this is my order. I put my name on a sheet of paper or whatever it's Google Docs now. I don't know, whatever they use now. But, you know, and that you can go out and you'll have your space in line. You don't have to worry about it. You know, stress about it. You know, can't like go off and not come back. But it's just like, yeah, I felt like the sense of order and respect and the diligence also is of the U2 fans is just something I haven't seen in other fans before. So, and it doesn't surprise me that, you know, the community being so great that it is. So, and it's something that I saw and I was looking forward to during the 360 tour. When I saw them again, I was just like, I'm looking forward to the people in the line. And sure enough, there was like, this is like, people were like, yeah, this is my line. This is your placement in line. And so it's just, you know, and I don't find that in elsewhere in other acts whatsoever. So, and in fact, if I was to do a startup idea, that would be like to do GPS venue location and leave notes with like Foursquare or whatever, how you queue up line. And,
right.
And it's a startup idea because there's like no money to be made from that whatsoever.
That's a perfect way to get funding.
That's a perfect way to get funding because like it's just the ease of setting up for a venue. But so I'm not sure if it's I don't know if it's the U2 fans or not, but it's just crazy. So that's a big pat on our back for all the U2 fans out there. So, but I guess and from I want to get your opinion as a web person and searcher. Like, what do you think of U2's online presence and stuff like that. And they're
the official stuff.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a loaded question.
So I have to ask you that because I have to get physically ill every time they're a lot better than they were when they first started out. And
exactly. I was just gonna say, I think that they just relaunched the website a couple months ago, right? When the new album came out or somewhere around there.
Yeah.
I think the official website is better now than it's ever been. I mean, it's been pretty bad over the years. But I sense that they are finally finally opening their arms and embracing the internet more so than they have in the past. I mean, you got to keep in mind with YouTube that go back, and maybe you remember this. Go back to like 1999 or 2000 or whatever it was, and they had their very first web presence. It was part of Island Records UK.
Yeah.
And one of the sections of the website was this game where you had to control the 4 band members and help them get through a maze to get away from their fans, right? So I kind of think that speaks volume to the early outlook that they had on the internet, was that part of the first one was a game to help them get away from the fans.
It's like Beatles and Hard Day's Night or whatever.
Right? Like, wow, did you really have this on your website back then? Yes, they
did. Like to-do item number 1. Alienate fans quickly as possible. What can we do, guys? What can we do?
Can you imagine if an artist today, like just a brand new artist coming out and they're launching their website and they said, let's have a game where we try to stay away from our fans. They'd be like, all their consultants are like, no. Right?
Oh man.
So yeah, they've been pretty dodgy and pretty I don't know what the word is, like maybe ignorant in the sense of not understanding and appreciating what the web could offer them over the years. They've always. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, my favorite part was it a 360 tour? I could be wrong, but it could have been Elevation. I'm not sure. No, I think it was a 360 or whatever. It was Edge was on Twitter, and he would only post photos because he felt like words get trippy sometime. And I was like, only the guitarist for U2 could get away with that, just like so. But
he was afraid that if he posted anything with words, that it would get misconstrued or taken out of context. So he only posted photos.
Yeah, it's like I was just like, that is. I thought it was a great concept. I probably like, okay, cool. And then he would post things of like, here I am in the VIP area of the of Greece. Here you go, where you will never set foot in. They're like, okay, thanks. But I'm glad we can relate. Thank you so much for posting that. So, but yeah, very Kanye West of you. Thank you. But yeah, all right, cool. Well, let's just wrap down the episode and thank you, Matt. So, where can people find you online?
The easiest way to contact me is probably Twitter. It's just at Matt McGee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm usually on Twitter throughout the day, unless I'm traveling or whatever. Going to U2 shows. Have you seen any shows so far?
No, I haven't yet. They are staying away from Texas with I guess we have a radioactive border or something like that. But so actually, my just to see how much of a U2 fan I am. There's a Mysterious Ways, a U2 cover band based in Austin, and they are putting on a show later this month, and they're going to play new songs from the album. I think for the just because U2 is not playing in Texas, that's why. I was like, okay, well, whatever, because they actually broke up, disbanded a year or so ago, so they're coming back to play. And I was like, whatever it takes, guys, I don't care. But, so
well, hey, it's a really great show. So if you get a chance, if it to get to Chicago or New York or wherever, it
looks great. The YouTube videos look awesome that you guys are posting at youtube.com. It looks like a really great show, like very more conceptual than past shows, and I thought it was mostly. We can talk more about this, like boring stuff for web people, but just like
yeah, anybody that doesn't want to talk you to, it's okay to tune out now.
yeah, tune it out. It feels like very. Forgot his name. It's like right here. Who did Peter Gabriel? It seems like Peter Gabriel-ish a little bit. Like,
okay.
Not elaborately conceptual like Peter Gabriel, but more of set pieces and some of that. So
they're very the first half of the show. They are very much telling a story.
Yeah.
There's a Broadway aspect to it, especially when you get into the few songs right before the little intermission break. You're absolutely right. I agree with that.
Yeah. So our next podcast, we should just talk about the Spider-Man show.
There you go. Hey, I saw Spider-Man several times. I actually liked it. I'm one of those weirdos that thought it was good. So.
All right. Okay. On that note, we just lost our notes again. All right. I'll get it.